Welcome everyone. The course today will be about Java Access Modifier. So in Java there is four access modifiers: private, default, protected, then public. And so default is less restrictive than private, protected less restrictive than default and private, and public the most restrictive of all access modifiers. So here I have created a project with a main class here, main app in this package here. Then I created another class, modifiers example, in this package langage.source modifiers. So here I will begin with private. So we create a method, a private void print private access. So I will print something private access and lock it. So the access modifier for this method here, print private access, is private. So it's the most restrictive access modifiers in Java. And the only rule here that it's only accessible within the same class. So I cannot use this method in another place than this class modifiers example. Here I can create a new instance of my class modifier example equal a new modifier example. Here I have created a new instance of my class here. Then I will try to use this private method that print private access. Sure, Java doesn't like that. The method private from the type is not visible. So I have to change the access modifier to public so it will work. So I cannot use this method here in my main class because it's a private. I can only use it within the same class. Only the same class. But to use it, I can create another method. Print some text. So here I will call my private print private access. So here I can use it because it's in the same class. I can use it on my new public void print some text method. And here I can use it on my main class. Run. So here I have my text just displayed private access in locket. But this method I cannot call it from here, but only in the same class. So we'll look at the next one, default access modifier. So in Java, when you don't put print, I will just create the method print default access, and here default access and locked. So as you see, I didn't put any access modifier. But when I don't put private, protected, or public, the default one is the access modifier of the method. It's just invisible, but Java do it for you. But we can't write it, for example, default. Here I will have an error. So this is a default method. Default. So what are the rules for default access modifier? It's the same as private plus classes in the same package. So here it's the same rule as this one, and I can use it in the class in the same package. So for example, what will happen if I try to use it here? I just put my creation of my class here. So what will happen if I use my new default access method in my main? Look at the package. Here the package is org/source, and here is it's not the same package. Source modifier. So it won't work. So here it will tell me to change visibility. Because my main class is not on the same package of modifier example. You can look in package explorer. The two classes are in different package. But if I create another class here, for example, modifier second example. So I will create another class in the same package. I will try to put it on one screen. So I have created a new class modifier second example in the same package of modifier example. And here I will try the default method. Print some text, and here I will create a new instance of modifier example. Then I will use my default access method, print default access. Dot print default access. So now the compiler is happy because we have just respected this rule. The access of default must be in the same class here, because if I use this one here, it will work. There is no problem, it will work. We are in the same class. And if I use it in my second class modifier second example, it will work because the two classes are in the same package here, org/source modifier. But if I use it in my main app class in other package, it won't work because it's not the same package. But I can access this method. I will just create a new instance of modifier second example here. Then now I can access the default by printing some text. I will run my program, and then here I have default access unlocked. Because I used the other class here, I created an instance of the other class that can use the default method in my first class here. Then I can access my default method. So that's the rule for default access modifier. It's the same as private, it's accessible only in the same class or in the class in the same package, this package here. So the next one will be protected. So what are the rule of protected access modifiers? So it's the same as default access, and we can use it in the child class. So here I will create a new method, void print protected access, protected access, and here protected access and locked. So here the rule are the same as default, plus it will be accessible in child class. I have to add curly braces. And access modifier protected. So for example, if for my instance modifier example here, if I will try to use my protected method, it won't work. It won't work because it doesn't respect the rules. Main app is not in the same package of modifier example, so it won't work. And main app is not a child class of modifier example, so it won't work. And main app is not in the same package of modifier example. So here we can create another class, modifier example, new class. I will create another in another package, new package, child, finish. Then here I will create another class, modifier example, child. So my super class will be modifier example, finish. So here I have just created another class here, modifier example child, as you are seeing in the package explorer. This class extends modifier example. So we'll try to use my protected access method here. So here public print sum. Then here if I use my print protected access, it will work. Why it just worked? Because modifier example child extends modifier example. Modifier example child is a subclass of our class here. So we are allowed to use our protected method in the superclass in the subclass. Did you see that modifier example child is another in another package? It's not the same. But because it's a subclass, we can use the protected method. In here to use this method, I can call modifier example print sum. Now I have to create a new instance of my child. I can do it here, child, new modifier example child. And in my child, if I use this method here, this public method, I can access my print protected access in the superclass here. Run. In here I have my protected access unlocked. So the last one will be public. So public is the less restrictive one, and it have the same rule as protected, and it can access classes in other package. Public, public. So you have understood it. Public access modifier is open bar. So we create a new instance of my modifier. Then I can use it anywhere because it's a public. In here we are printing our last public access unlocked. So I hope that you have learned the different access modifier here. So we have more restrictive and less restrictive access modifier, and default we don't have to write it because Java do it for you. And those access modifier we can apply the same rule on field value. For example, for different field, private, int, age. So we will have the same value for the access modifier for the field of the class. So thank you and see you in the next course.